Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncie Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. All right, we have Miss Pamela Oberg in the house. Ladies, I am going to let her introduce herself to you. You are in for a treat today. Miss Oberg, please kick us off.
Thank you so much. I am the founder of a small company called Sea Blue Strategies, where I help growing businesses and leaders align people, process, and purpose. And I use AI every day to make that work sharper, faster, and more human. And after 20 years leading teams in tech and education, I love that I can now help small and mid-sized businesses grow with clarity and resilience and coach leaders along the way.
I noticed in your recent writing, you challenged this idea of urgency being leadership. You called it panic dressed up as productivity. I love that. I'm really curious. I want to unpack with you, like, what are the qualities that you believe define good leadership when it comes to leading right now, especially through all of this change?
So much change. Absolutely. So, when I talk about urgency not being leadership, what I mean is that moving fast without clarity is really just panic dressed up as productivity. And good leadership during change isn't about being the loudest or the fastest, it's about being the steadiest. So, the qualities that I look for start with clarity. We need to have a clear picture of where we're going and why. The why is really important. Then, consistency. As leaders, we need to show up steady even when things get messy, and they will get messy, so that our teams know that we are the anchor, not some kind of weather vane. We're not just flipping around as the wind blows. And then, of course, add in empathy because change lands differently for everyone. And we have to be able to accommodate and make space for all the different reactions to change that we're going to get so that we can gain buy in and earn trust and be able to move forward towards those goals. And at the end of the day, as leaders, transparency. Be honest about what you know, what you don't, and what's still in progress. So I think, and I do, I write a lot about this. When leaders balance people, process, and purpose, change has a much higher chance of succeeding because it's not just about launching a new system, chasing the shiny, announcing the new org chart. It's about making sure that people are equipped, workflows are updated, and the purpose is undeniable. And I would love to give an example if I
Oh, I
could.
want you to.
So I once worked with an organization where my colleagues joked that they were going to start a betting pool because, and it was the, what is Pamela's title going to be this year? Because my title changed 4 years in a row. And there wasn't clarity around why it needed to change. Sometimes my function changed a little bit, but not a lot. And there was no consistency because it kept changing. I was never really given a vote, nor was it a conversation. So I don't feel like there was a lot of empathy. And I was never really able to understand the why. Like there didn't seem to be a why. There were a lot of words spoken sometimes, but they didn't actually say anything. And when that was a change that really only impacted me, but I think it's a really good example of how, oh, we're getting ready to start the new fiscal year. That's urgent that we change Pamela's title. Why? Why? So I think at its best, leadership during change, leadership that achieves productivity, it looks calm, it looks intentional, and it looks accountable.
Yeah. I love that. And I think we've all worked in places where it's okay, that wasn't explained. What is the
right?
why behind that? I completely empathize with that. And I was also recognizing that a lot of those people that sometimes think in that panic mode or in that reactionary sense, they will hand in hand with that take pride in their exhaustion.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And that's I had a supervisor once that would proudly send you emails at 2 in the morning and be just so clear about, oh my gosh, I was up at 2 in the morning. I was doing this. And I think sometimes even I think it might be predominantly even more in women where
Yes.
there is just this badge of honor around exhaustion because we have it all and we are doing it all, but really what that translates that into is everything everywhere all at once.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I'm really wondering how we as women can push back against that culture and move from that reactionary chaos and exhaustion into what you're referring to as steady.
Yes. And you're so right. It really has. And I think of the number of conversations that I've had, even in recent years, and I'm embarrassed to admit this with, I had 8 meetings today. It's 4:30. I still got 3 hours of work to do. Oh my Lord.
Hmm.
And it's interesting that somewhere along the way, we started equating overwork with dedication.
Hmm.
And as leaders, we started wearing it like proof, like we care enough to sacrifice for the job. And I'm embarrassed to admit this too. I have used the phrase, I'm a good corporate soldier in the past to describe my willingness to do more than was perhaps reasonable, to not question the decisions that were being made. But exhaustion is not a strategy. And burned out leaders don't make good decisions. And that's before we even add in that you're modeling unhealthy behavior and you're creating a culture where the only way to show value is to run yourself to the ground. And I've seen so many books on burnout be published in the last 2 to 3 years, and they're excellent, but it makes me sad that there's such a
Hmm.
need. So, real dedication to me shows up in outcomes. Not in how many hours you've been awake, not many hours you've done at work, not how many 2 a.m. emails you've sent. Clear thinking, sustainable growth, empowered people. That's leadership, not the number of hours at your desk. And so the way that I push back, and of course, my theme, I focus on people, process, and purpose. And one way that I can exhibit that is by designing systems where
Hmm.
leaders don't have to be martyrs for progress and where energy is protected as a critical resource. And I'll give you an example of a system that sort of addressed this. So I once was working with some leaders who they were truly burning themselves out. There was a lot of running around. We were client facing team, and the leaders, my colleagues, felt that it was their responsibility to close all these gaps. And they were effectively the safety net for the work that we were doing. And we were fortunate enough, we had a leader come in above us who gave us an opportunity. And we redesigned a particularly problematic workflow. And we did that by making sure that the handoffs were really clear. We created a shared dashboard. So the status and the tasks were always visible to everyone who was involved in this. We clearly defined roles and responsibilities, and we identified escalation paths. And it sounds really simple. People are like, oh, that's business 101. Oh,
But it's
it is
not.
not as common as we would like it to be. And it really, what it allowed us to do was we were able to we were able to prevent issues because we were able to identify risks and mitigate them before they came issues. We quieted a lot of noise because we no longer had teams across the company chasing information like, what's the status of this? I don't know. I'll ask this person. I'll ask that person. No, everyone knew the status and everyone knew who to ask. And it just, it brought the exhaustion down, it brought the frustration down, it quieted the noise. It was so incredibly powerful. And it was just one workflow. We needed to do this to many, but it was also great proof of concept.
Mm.
Hey, we can measure impact having made this change. And now when I think of having AI, I'm like, oh my goodness, the things I could fix if I could go back in time and bring my AI with me. But the reality is, exhaustion just doesn't make you a better leader. It just makes you tired.
And I love that you brought up you can measure impact by the calmness that ensued because it
Yes.
reminds me, my dad always said you can measure if the food was good by how quiet it is at the table. It's
Yes.
like I'm busy eating, I'm not talking. This is so good. I'm gonna keep eating. So I'm not talking right now. And I always thought, oh my God, that's perfect. And what you just said that totally sprang to mind is if there is calm in your environment, wait a minute, maybe that's proof of impact right there.
Yes.
We're not
Yes.
just reacting. And I always wonder why, because I think sometimes AI adoption, if done in the wrong way, is the exact opposite of that. It creates a ton of noise. And I've seen this temptation before where leaders treat some change as if it needs to be this whole new thing. You might call that like a blank page exercise, right? Like we're starting from scratch, people. It's AI. We've got to adopt this and we're
Right.
adding it on. It's wait a minute. How does it complement? And so that's why I know I wanted to talk to you about why you think aligning AI with existing processes, existing strategies is so important.
Uh, I love this because we do. We hear a lot right now on social media about people shouldn't worry about the old processes. They're just going to start fresh with this blank page, wipe everything clean, drop in that shiny new tool, and expect it to fix the business. And I would argue that AI without context just creates chaos. Systems won't connect, employees lose trust, leaders don't get that measurable impact that they're looking for. If your AI solution doesn't align with your business strategy, it's not going to create value. It's just going to create that chaos. So I truly believe in my heart of hearts that what works is aligning AI with your existing strategy and processes. And that means starting with your business goals and objectives. Are we trying to save time, reduce errors, improve customer service? What are we trying to do with this AI tool? And then integrate AI maybe into the workflows people already understand so that adoption 6, it's a great proof of concept. It can be a small pilot. You can say, okay, we have this process, but we think with AI we could have a different process. That's fine. But you still have to understand the current process so that you don't repeat the same mistakes, so that you inform the new and improved version. So sometimes I see this conversation on social media where if you're not all on board with the blank page, you're stick in the mud just trying to constantly refine what you already have. And I'm like, there's a middle ground. I think there's a middle ground that's really important. And I reflect on the MIT analysis that came out that said 95% of Gen AI pilots don't return value. And they determined that was because the bottlenecks were strategy, workflow redesign, and change management. And if we don't take the time to understand those existing processes, are they documented? Are they followed? If they're not followed, why? Because putting AI on top of it is simply going to amplify what's already wrong. It's not magic. It does nothing by itself. We tell it what to do. We tell it what impact we want to have. And we can't tell it what to do if we don't understand what to do. And there are certainly opportunities to do new and exciting things, but I think you have to understand current state. You need to understand what is the gap between current state and where you want to be in the future, and then decide where AI is going to fit into that. Now, maybe it's refining existing process. Maybe it's refining existing process for now. Maybe it is completely reinventing a process, and that's awesome. But do it from a place where you're well informed of what's working and what's not, And I have this example. So I spent a long time doing enterprise software adoption, and a lot of the time companies would say, "Oh, we're going to implement SAP, we're going to implement Salesforce, we're going to implement Cecil, it's going to fix all our problems." It's going to do
Nope.
nothing. It's going to do nothing. And I reflect on it when we were bringing in SAP and we were a global company, and the consultants put the department managers in a conference room for a week, and they had to talk through everything that they wanted to run through SAP. And the thing that struck me was they came out of the room, I think it was like Wednesday, and one of the people just looked stunned. I'm like, "What just happened?" And they're like, "Do you know that we keep 34 copies of every client purchase order? Different people in different systems across the organization, not always the same version, and none of them knew the other ones had it."
Oh, I love it. This is fantastic efficiency.
Right? And I'm like, had we not taken the time to flow out what is done today, we
Mhm.
would have missed an opportunity to address that, among many other things. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, you need to know where you're at because one of the biggest tenets that I've had this conversation on the podcast, we actually built an entire season around this idea of what problem are you solving?
Yes.
So if you don't know what existing systems are doing, you don't see those redundancies like the
Right.
34 copies of the same. You don't see the holes or you don't see the gaps. If you don't take the time to recognize that, then are you solving the right problem? So hence adoption would fail because you didn't know what your problems were to begin with.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So that to me, okay, so I see that within industry, within corporations, but a lot of women in our audience are leaving corporate and industry
Yes.
because they're tired of that reality.
So tired.
So tired and stepping into entrepreneurship and feeling overwhelmed by the responsibility of
Oh,
a
yes.
solid implementation of AI. So, what parallels do you see between leading large scale adoption in organizations and maybe, for example, guiding yourself through new tech as a business owner?
Yes. And there really are many parallels. And as I'm on this journey myself as an entrepreneur, having worked in those big enterprise spaces, and I'm going to say the first reaction that I've seen in both places is overwhelm. There's so much hype, whether it was bringing in SAP or it's thinking about how to use AI myself, there's so much hype. There are too many options. No one is giving you a roadmap right now, and everything is constantly changing. So I think that overwhelm is very natural and normal. And then you throw in the shoulds. I should be using this one and I should be using that one. And I think sometimes we see paralysis come out of that. Okay, I can't do any of this. And again, I've seen that both in the large scale spaces and with fellow entrepreneurs. So one strategy I've always been a fan of, and I think it's fairly universal, is starting with small pilots. We were never going to spend $10 million to bring SAP and launch it in a day. That wouldn't have been a good idea. And as an entrepreneur, I'm really thoughtful about where I put my resources, time, finance, effort. And so picking a tool, thinking about what's something in my business that I feel is causing me a little bit pain. It's taking too much time, it's holding me back. Choosing a tool and then testing it. How can
Mhm.
I improve this process? How can I improve this part of my business with AI? And then if that AI tool doesn't do it, I can try another one because my business is not at risk because I'm doing my own little pilot. I have a chance to experiment with it and find the right solution that's going to align with my strategic vision. And I think that plays into the other parallel. There's many, but the two that I want to mention is purpose. So
Mhm.
enterprises have to tie AI to their overall strategy. The corporate boards expect to see that sort of thing. But a small business is no different. I don't have the luxury of bringing in a ton of tools that aren't going to align with my business strategy. That's not going to help me be successful. And really thinking about what's going to help make our lives easier today at that enterprise scale or at the smaller entrepreneur scale. And I would simplify it by saying, if I cannot answer the question, why am I using this? Then I haven't prepared well enough and it's just noise. If we start AI adoption small, intentional, and tied to purpose, then I think we're setting ourselves up pretty well for success. And success can mean a lot of different things, but I think we're really setting ourselves up for success. And the last thing I'll note from personal experience is you got to give yourself permission to learn in real time. You don't have
Mhm.
to be perfect. You don't have to know everything about AI ahead of time. You just have to start. Just start. And the
Yeah.
rest is going to come.
Yeah. And that is the hardest part because wearing all the hats
All the hats.
yourself, doing all the things, it's okay. So remembering to set aside time for myself to learn or to talk with community. Community is so
Yes.
huge. I just This is so huge. Talk with community about what they're learning, what I'm learning. Oh my God, did you have that problem too? It's okay. Walk me through that. What did you do? It
Yeah.
is such a gift that we can give ourselves. I think of it almost like self-care,
Mhm.
right? The
Yes.
time to learn. I am all about getting a facial and a massage, but damn if it takes me forever to schedule that because it just gets to push to the bottom, push to the bottom, push to the bottom. And I think time to learn is the same type of self-care. It's like, I can't keep pushing this away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So important.
Critical.
Oh my goodness. So I'm curious, how are you personally applying AI inside Sea Blue? For example, are there specific workflows, decisions that you're making where AI is freed up some time or maybe sparked a new possibility for you?
Absolutely. I am using AI every single day, and not just as a tool, but as a thought partner, as a collaborator. And so there's two really important areas for me as a business owner where I leverage AI. And if I reflect back on my time in corporate, I could work on an RFP response or an analysis or develop a report. And there was a point at which you've looked at it so long you can't see it anymore. So you walk next door and visit your colleague and say, okay, I can't see this anymore. Can you review this for me? And so I learned to see and to build a relationship with AI. I use the word
Mhm.
relationship lightly, to use it as a thought partner and a collaborator because I've trained my AI on my business, my goals,
Mhm.
my vision, my objectives. It knows the things that are most important to me, the people, process, and purpose. Like I've fed all of that into it. And I've given it permission to argue with me and to ask questions. And so now I can use AI to help me brainstorm, to
Mhm.
refine ideas, to pressure test ideas. And that is absolutely critical to have that opportunity to have another perspective. And yes, it's AI, a new version will come out and I have to do some reteaching and retraining. But at this point, we've come far enough along that, yeah, it's just like having my favorite colleague in the office next door, which is amazing. From a more kind of tactical perspective, I really enjoy writing. My master's degree was focused on writing. I love writing. And the ability to bring content creation into my business is just absolutely wonderful. I love to be out there sharing about leadership and building community because I think that's critical. And I of course want to do it across multiple channels. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Substack, I'm even on TikTok.
Ah,
I am. I love it. I have to admit it. And what I very quickly realized was that I was spending so much time trying to manage my content process and the actual content, it was overwhelming. And I said, this is silly. I should ask ChatGPT what I should do about this. And I gave it my goals and objectives. I told it what I was doing now. And together we built a whole content management system for me. And it's everything from I can write a piece of content and then put it into ChatGPT and say, I need you to review it for these three key things. I want to make sure there's good flow. Is this a theme that I need to talk about? Whatever. And, but we also have this whole system of where I store my content, how I track themes, how I track what performed well, whether I used it for LinkedIn posts and a newsletter or not. AI has streamlined that for me to such a degree that now I can say to ChatGPT, hey, what haven't I written about in a while? And it'll be like, oh, these are the two themes you need to get back to. Okay. And I'll go write something. And then I come back and say, okay, here it is. How'd I do? And they'll be like, this is a little bit general. This is a little
Did
bit
you train it
vague.
to say,
I get funny responses from ChatGPT. And so it's amazing to have that opportunity.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
will say from a client perspective, of course, we always have to be super cautious with clients. We need to get permission. We need to be
Mhm.
very clear about what we're doing. But there is also opportunity to focus the client teams on the work that only those client teams can do and let AI do the work that anyone could do. So for instance, if we have identified an opportunity within a client organization to improve processes, I might ask the client for permission to take the existing process documents, the training documents, the email template, anything related, and feed it into AI simply to ask it to give me the workflow. Now, can I
Mhm.
pop into Visio and make my own play? Yes. Do I want to? No. And then we much more quickly can sit down together, because that's critical, client, me, client team, and say, okay, let's walk through this. Is this really what you do? Is this
Mhm.
really how you do it? Oh my gosh, are there any duplications? Are there steps not documented? That's the part that we need the humans doing. They need to bring their critical thinking and their judgment and their lived experience to the table. They
Mhm.
don't need to do the Visio workflow. We can let AI
Right.
do that. And we can even ask the AI to identify things that it thinks, oh, is this a duplicated step? Is it, and we can focus that conversation. And I love that because we focus the humans on the analysis, the critique, the redesign that their lived experience is so critical for. And so all of that to say, I think AI allows me to invest, me and my clients to invest more in the human-centered work, building
Mhm.
relationships, coaching, designing strategies. And it's opened up new possibilities because I can bring my lived experience with learning how to use AI in my business to that. I understand
Mhm.
the challenges and the overwhelm. And so that's become part of my offering. But yeah, it's super exciting.
And have you had a big surprise moment for you where you're integrating AI into your own entrepreneurial journey and there was just like this win that you weren't expecting?
So yes, I had the privilege of being tangential to some AI work almost a decade ago with my company. We were using AI in a very specific use case. It wasn't something that was going to be on everyone's desktop. We weren't all going to be using it. And so as I started learning about AI, that was in the back of my mind that, oh, it was rigid and I didn't understand all of the potential. I expected it to save me time on administrative tasks. I did not expect it to be such a great thought partner that I could bounce those ideas
Mhm.
off of and refine drafts. And the other thing that I guess I just didn't think about it, but the learning curve for AI is so different than anything else I've ever worked with. It's not technical, it's about judgment. Any previous tool I've worked with at this scale, it's required an IT team, it's required
Mhm.
configuration, it's required intensive training. AI is very democratic. Like anyone, anytime can just dive in and figure it out. And I've learned to value the judgment that humans bring to the table and that we can't expect perfection from it. We can expect drafts, sparks of ideas, acceleration. I'm working much faster with AI. And I think the other aspect of that surprise is that AI hasn't replaced my work. It has freed me up to focus on the parts that I believe only I can do. We all talk about the human in the loop, and that's real. The humans are really important in all of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just listening to who was it?
I think it was a podcast and Neil deGrasse Tyson was on it. And he was saying, he said, I really do think there are going to be moments where we just say no. We don't want AI to do that because the human is so important in this. So that statement, when he said that, I thought, okay, that because we've always said human in the loop, but the way he phrased it, it just woke me up to no, I don't want that to be done. And it really hit me because I think so many times it's like you were saying, we're used to that reactionary, we're in the moment. Oh my God, AI, I don't want to be behind. I'm going to implement. But no, sometimes there are moments where it needs to be your voice, your judgment, all those things that you just said.
100%.
And so that is so echoed out there, I think, by
That's
many. So if we have a woman listening right now, hesitating to take a step with AI, what's the one challenge that you would gauntlet thrown? What is that challenge? You would challenge her to try what?
I would say, first and foremost, that hesitation is normal. AI feels big, it's hyped, it's messy. The articles that are also clickbaity, and that can be really intimidating. The other, I think, the other part of that mindset shift is accepting that you don't have to master it all at once. You don't need to know every tool. You don't need to know every trend. You just need to get curious. Try one thing,
Mhm.
try one tool, see how it fits into your world. That's enough to get started. And my suspicion for most people is it's like potato chips. If you try one, you're gonna want more. You're going to, because it is it is efficient once you get going, and it is fun. I can't remember the last time certain work activities were actually fun, and it's fun with AI because AI isn't replacing our value. It is giving us the opportunity to amplify our value, our skills, our insight, the human leadership that we can bring to the table in whatever capacity. AI can strengthen that all. It's not going to take it away from us. And I will say, I struggle with this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be your first step. Progress. Just keep focusing on progress. You get a little bit more comfortable. You get a little bit more fluent. You have a little bit more fun. And then within a very short period of time, is my bet for most people, possibilities start opening up. And then you're like, oh, I could do this. Oh, now I have time to do this other cool thing I've been wanting to do. And oh, that's going to get caught up. It's been on my to-do list for 2 months and I didn't want to do it. I'm going to have AI do it. And I think that's amazing. So many possibilities can open up if you just take that first step. It's okay to hesitate. It's okay to have to really wrap your mind around, I don't have to be an expert. I don't have to be perfect. Just take that first step.
Words of encouragement coming from an authority such as yourself are much appreciated. We are all the better for having listened to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so wonderful.
I appreciate the heck out of you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource, created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.